Okay. Cool. Well, I like an intimate group. It reminds me of Srivas Sangam. Just some people who were really fixed up and absorbed were allowed in. So I guess this is what we got today. So I couldn't be happier to be here. We'll start with Jai Radha. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari Gopi Janavalabha Dhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Tiranachari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Okay, Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhiraya. Jai, so we are reading from the Oh, I can't share my screen, Prabhu. If you could kindly grant me
Sorry,
permission.
yeah, let me just
It's okay.
yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. Here we are. Bhagavatam 1:117. Okay. Tasya karmanyudharani parigitani suribhi bruhina shradhananam Leelaya dadhataha kalaha tasya his karmani transcendental acts udarani magnanimous parigitani broadcast suribihi by the great souls bruhi please speak na unto us shraddhananam ready to receive with respect leelaya pastimes dadhataha advented Kalaha incarnations. Translation: His transcendental acts, speaking about Krishna, are magnificent and gracious, and great learned sages like Narada sing of them. Please, therefore, speak to us who are eager to hear about the adventures he performs in his various incarnations. The adventures. He's an adventurous fellow, that Krishna, coming to a foreign land in the material world to just have a great time, to eliminate the demons and to have fun with his devotees. It's a great life. And we can catch that bliss if we adhere to the program. So, purport. The personality of Godhead is never inactive, as some less intelligent person suggest. His works are magnificent and magnanimous. His creations, both material and spiritual, are all wonderful and contain all variegatedness. They are described nicely by such liberated souls as Srila Narada, Vyas, Valmiki Devala Asita Madhva, Sri Chaitanya Ramanuj, Vishnu Swami Nimbark, Sridhar Vishwanath Baladev Bhaktivinod, Siddhanta Saraswati, and many other learned and self-realized souls. These creations, both material and spiritual, are full of opulence, beauty, and knowledge. But the spiritual realm is more magnificent due to its being full of knowledge, bliss, and eternity. The material creations are manifested for some time as perverted shadows of the spiritual kingdom and can be likened to cinemas. They attract people of less intelligent caliber who are attracted by false things. Such foolish men have no information of the reality, and they take it for granted that the false material manifestation is the all in all. But more intelligent men, guided by sages like Vyas and Narada, know that the eternal kingdom of God is more delightful, larger, and eternally full of bliss and knowledge. Those who are not conversant with the activities of the Lord and his transcendental realm are sometimes favored by the Lord in his adventures as incarnations, where he displays the eternal bliss of his association in the transcendental realm. By such activities, he attracts the conditioned souls of the material world. So it's a beautiful thing to think about that Krishna loves us and he never forgets about us. Sometimes you'll hear a story of a hardened parent whose child does something, maybe there's some argument, and then the parent just writes the kid off or literally disowns them and never speaks to them again. But Krishna is not like that. Catholics may have a different idea. No shade on the Catholics. But somehow or other, to me, the idea of eternal damnation or an eternal disconnect from God because of a mistake or a few mistakes or many mistakes just seems a little irrational or illogical to me, especially if we consider that God is the source of all love, the source of all wisdom, the source of all understanding. Because it's inevitable in our spiritual lives that we will have ups and we'll have downs. And somebody who's wise knows not to judge um, a person by a bad day or a bad week or even a bad life, in the grand scheme of things. As souls with an inherent nature to love God, it's described that love for God, love for Krishna is eternally established in the heart of all the living entities. So, considering the fact that that's our nature, in reality, it's only a matter of time before that nature shows its head again and we begin running towards our actual interest, towards Krishna. But the specific way in which Krishna helps to stoke that remembrance is by coming to the material world personally on a covert mission, various covert missions. So to perform pastimes, to give us a little taste of what we've forgotten, of what we're missing out on. He doesn't care the fact that we've been here for billions and billions of lifetimes. He doesn't care that we've been turned away from him for all that time. He doesn't care all of the silly and sometimes abominable things that conditioned souls do in the material world, life after life. He has unconditional love for all of us. In the 17th verse of the second chapter of the Bhagavatam, first canto, Prabhupada writes in his purport that Krishna is even more anxious for us to come back to him than we are to go towards him. There's such an infinite amount of love that Krishna has for us, so much so that he not only descends in the material world from time to time personally, but he also personally manifests in each and every individual soul's heart. And he stays with us in the pig body, in the fly body, in the shark body, all kinds of crazy, wild bodies. He doesn't care. He's just like a sweet, loving mother who just can't help but want to be with their child at all times. Krishna has that same kind of sweet love and affection for us, so much so that he actually never gives up our company, even though we try to give his company up. Since we're now don't have a huge audience, I'll just reference this verse real quick. Give me one sec. I just found it yesterday. It was in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Let's see. Madhya Lila 10.125. This really blew my top back. Let's see. Madhya 10.125. Check this out. I gave up your company, but you did not give me up. By your rope of mercy, you have bound me by the neck and brought me back again to your lotus feet. This is one of Lord Chaitanya's devotees speaking to him. So Krishna reclaims us in various ways, but the most important way is by personally coming himself in the form of Swayam Bhagavan, the ocean of rasa, Sri Krishna, and performing pastimes that are so attractive that we can't help but notice them and become enamored by them. Krishna was here 5,000 years ago. Still, there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people that are hearing about his activities every single day. He's withstood the test of time. And it's not that that number is dwindling, but it's actually increasing. So who can understand? The pastimes Krishna performs are transcendently sweet by nature. Tannama rupa charitari sukirtana anusmrityo kramena rasana manasini yoja tishtam braje charanuragi jananugami kalam nayera kilamityupadesha saram. That by gradually hearing about them, more and more their sweetness is revealed. We can pull back the layers of gauze that are covering our tongue, the layers of ignorance, of attachment, of aversion that are plaguing us. We can gradually peel those layers back from the tongue and taste more and more the sweetness of Krishna's activities, the sweetness of Krishna's names. And eventually we become enamored by them. So much so that this rope, as it's being mentioned here in the verse by, I forget who's speaking, one of the devotees in Jagannath Puri, but we get caught by the rope of the sweetness of Krishna's pastimes, where we get to a point where we can't give it up anymore. We feel, I don't want to do anything else. This is so nice. It's so much nicer than anything else that I don't want to get involved in anything that'll take me away from it. It's a very real, visceral experience, and it happens naturally by hearing about Krishna's pastimes. Shunile kandibe chitter agyinaridosh Krishna gada preme habi paibe santosh. Simply hearing submissively, Krishnadas Kaviraj says, the beginning of the CC. Simply hearing submissively will free one's heart from all faults of ignorance, and thus one will develop deep love for Krishna. Paibe santosh, this is the path of peace. Simply hearing the pastimes regularly of Krishna, krame krame, step by step. It's so wonderful. Pitopatapta rasanasya narochikanu kintvararada nudinam kalushaiva jushtam swadvikramad bhavati tadgadamula hantri. That this root that's deep in our heart of the desire for material sense gratification, it is extinguished. Kramad, gradually by the process of hearing about Krishna by the process of devotional service. So powerful are the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, of Krishna. They go deep into the heart, especially when they're spoken by a completely self-realized soul. Then our material desires don't really stand a chance because what are they actually? They're absolutely valueless. They have no real value. They have no real substance. There's simply some illusion. Some Prabhupada would describe as a will-o'-the-wisp. They're a kind of mirage in the desert. We're apparently seeing something, but we're not seeing what we think we're seeing. We think we're seeing something that's going to satisfy us, it's going to make us happy. But when we finally grab that thing, we see actually it's not that. It's something that is just provides some kind of temporary sensation, not necessarily even a good sensation, but it just kind of excites us in some way. And then it's gone, and we need something else. We're constantly searching for more and more. It's a mirage that we never quite grasp. So, in comparison to that, the pastimes of Krishna, the satisfaction that devotional service provides, is so incredible. There's actually no comparison. There's no comparison. It's reality and illusion, gold and stool, um, night and day. There's no point to the other stuff. So that's why Krishna comes to help attract us back to our real interest, to help us reawaken our natural state of love for him, so that we could actually start acting in a way that is beneficial to ourselves and will breed actual happiness and satisfaction for what that we're always seeking. Some of these conditioned souls are engaged in the false enjoyment of material senses, and others in simply negating their real life in the spiritual world. These less intelligent persons are known as karmis, or fruitive workers, and gyanis, or dry mental speculators. But above these two classes of men is the transcendentalist known as sattvata, or the devotee, who is busy neither with rampant material activity nor with material speculation. He is engaged in the positive service of the Lord, and thereby he derives the highest spiritual benefit unknown to the karmis and gyanis. As the supreme controller of both the material and spiritual worlds, the Lord has different incarnations of unlimited categories. Incarnations like Brahma, Rudra, Manu, Prithu, and Vyas are his material qualitative incarnations, but his incarnations like Rama, Narasingha, Varaha, and Vamana are his transcendental incarnations. Lord Sri Krishna is the fountainhead of all incarnations, and he is therefore the cause of all causes. So it makes a lot of sense, the idea that Krishna is the fountainhead of all incarnations, because Krishna is God when God is completely himself, when God is enjoying to the utmost. We understand that the best form of enjoyment, the cleanest form of enjoyment, the most ecstatic form of enjoyment, and the form of enjoyment that increases unlimitedly and is most enrapturing and overwhelming, that best kind of enjoyment is love, loving exchange. And in many other manifestations of God, besides Krishna, that love is there, but it has a sort of limit to it, in that there's mixed with that love is also this sort of Aishwarya, or opulence, or a sense of reverence for God. But with Krishna, it's absolutely pure, free flowing. There's nothing that is there that could inhibit the sweetness and uh, continuation, the flow of that love. In fact, it's ever increasing abundantly. The reason why is because Krishna is just a boy. He's just a cowherd boy. He is just the little son of Mother Yashoda. He is the smaller brother of Balram and the friend who sometimes gets beaten in wrestling by his other friends. And this may sound a little crazy, but you have to look at the root of you have to look at the philosophical underpinnings, right? If we understand that love is the highest energy in all of existence, then naturally the form of God which can be considered supreme is that form with which we could exchange that most intense and ecstatic and overwhelming love. And there may be some love, say, for the politician by the politician's crusaders, but that love is always tainted by some kind of, official nature, for example. So when God is manifesting his kind of political form, or he's ruling over things, that kind of typical understanding of God and what he does. There could be some devotion there, some love, but what is that love compared to the love that, say, a politician shares between himself and his little son or his wife? Those two people, those two people have a connection to him, know him in a much more intimate way, and they're able to exchange with him in a much sweeter and more intense way. For example, if that politician, say, were to get assassinated, then the followers would probably cry for a day. They may mourn his loss for a week or so, but then they'd find another politician, somebody else, and they'd kind of go on with their lives. But if the son, if the politician dies, then the son himself will be devastated, will be f affected forever. The wife will be absolutely beside herself, unable to go on, most likely, if she had that kind of love for him. She would be affected for the rest of her life. She would never be the same. So the intimacy that's there, the strength of the connection that's there is much more powerful when there is that sweetness, that closer connection. So the same goes for God, the same goes for Krishna. The idea of Krishna is that Krishna is God when he's able to exchange with his devotees in the most intimate way and thus breed the most intense and enamoring and powerful form of love. So I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I always had that conviction somehow or other that love is the supreme force in all of existence. So then it would naturally go as to say that Krishna is the supreme form of divinity because he is that form with which we can exchange the most intense, intimate, overwhelming, ecstatic, ever increasing love. So, in that sense, it makes sense philosophically. And in any case, why would God just want to, be giving orders to people? It's basically like work. It's like a job. People are always looking to see when they can retire. So why would God want to spend eternity just giving orders to people? It makes more sense that he would want to be exchanging love with his most intimate, loving associates in ever increasingly new and fresh and sweet ways. So that's the idea of what's being expressed here, is that sweetness, that love is the reason why it's supreme is because it's what's actually governing the entire universe. It's what we as souls are all looking for. Whether we know it or not, we're always looking for and trying to express that love that we originally have with Krishna. So Krishna comes for that reason. He displays his loving pastimes with his devotees here in the material world so that we could get a taste of that. We could remember that, oh, that's what I'm actually searching for. That's what my heart is craving. and we can return to our original glorious position as loving servants of the transcendental adventurer, Krishna himself. So we have about 8 minutes left. Intimate group, but Vrindavan Nadabar, if you have anything, we'd love to hear from you. Otherwise, no worries. I know you had a late night.
Um, yeah, and LA did join also, but
Oh.
um anyway, yeah, I just want to reflect. I don't have a question, but I just want to reflect that this is at least to me, and I don't mean this to be like flattery to you or anything, but I mean this is just so much more convincing to develop a relationship with God than anything I ever heard as a child.
Mm,
You know, I have no interest in being scared of anyone. Um, I mean, of course, like you said, there's opulences mixed in, there's reverence mixed in, there's respect, right? Um, but I just can't imagine like if someone really was, really understood the two presentations of God, one like this, of just this supreme lover who's always looking out for you, wants to take care of you. You've forgotten him, but he hasn't forgotten you,
mm,
right? So nice. And then like this other aspect of him, which is sort of punitive and, you know, kind of leaves you hanging. I mean, it just seems like a no-brainer to me.
yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think I think it's unfortunate, that kind of idea of God has become almost the norm. But I think it's a big part of the reason why so many people are looking for something else. Because I think on an emotional level, people are thinking, I can't live like this, just in fear of going to hell eternally or being condemned. And also on a logical level, it just feels false, you know, that what loving God would damn their children to eternal suffering because they messed up in one lifetime, especially if they were born in an unfortunate, family situation and they were raised in a certain way to have certain qualities and habits that, were not good for them. And how could a loving God look at a person like that and think, yeah, you're finished. And, I know you had it bad in this lifetime, but it's too bad for you. And, you know, see you never kind of thing. So, yeah, I mean, Krishna makes a lot more sense. But as you were kind of alluding to, there is also that sense of consequences too. And, sometimes tough love is needed, but the fact is that it's still love. It's not eternal damnation, or some kind of abject, suffering that we're subjected to. But there's that element of love. Like Lord Chaitanya says, even if you handle me roughly by your embrace. So I agree. I think it makes a lot of sense too. And it just feels good. It makes sense logic. It makes sense. It feels good in my brain and in my heart. So I think that's a good indicator for sure.
Yeah. Another observation that I had, which I just think is really sweet and I think is a great example for all of us, is several times in his purports in the Bhagavatam, but notably in this one, um, Srila Prabhupada, when he's listing all of the great sages and philosophers of India, all these ancient for thousands of years, like really, really, really famous people, he always he always ends the list. by naming his spiritual master.
Mm,
Um, and I mean, I think it's nice that what he's doing is, just making it clear that, he always says, all glories to my Guru Maharaj, all credit is due to my Guru Maharaj. In his lectures, you hear it over and over. Um, just the feeling of I'm not the doer, I'm just a vessel for, mercy to flow through.
mm.
I really like this.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's a great point. Yeah, Vaisheshika Maharaj, he often quotes this this talk that Bhaktisiddhanta gave that I really inspired me, where he talks about I think it was his Vyas Puja, and he had received all this glorification, and then it was his turn to speak, and he was saying, when I think of myself as some kind of zoo animal, especially in a situation like this, everybody's looking at me, and has their ideas about me and, is offering some praise. I feel personally like I'm just like an animal on display practically, because in his humility, he's feeling like that. He says, but at the same time, it would be insincere of me to not share what I've been given by my spiritual master. So there's that beautiful dance, that beautiful balance of humility and thinking oneself as unqualified, but at the same time feeling a very real obligation to share what one spiritual master gave to them. And so it's an art, I think, but I think it also comes naturally as one progresses in Krishna consciousness, because these people like Prabhupada and so forth who feel this way, that actually it's all my spiritual master, they're not sentimentalists, you know, and and at the same time they know that they themselves are advanced in a sense, not that they're thinking about themselves in that way, but with that advancement, with that love in their heart for Krishna, comes a sense of um, comes a sense of understanding that at my best, I am but an instrument, and at my worst, then I could drive myself very far away. So any good qualities that anyone ever perceives in oneself are actually not coming from oneself, but they're coming from Krishna through the spiritual master, through the disciplic succession. So in that sense, it creates a space for really genuine humility and a deep understanding and appreciation of the mercy of the spiritual master. That through him I am being used in a beneficial way. And without him, without that guidance, without that mercy, without that empowerment, I've seen and I know that I'll actually go very far in the other direction. So that's where I come in, personally, is that I can drive myself very far the other way. But by the mercy of the Guru and the and by the mercy of Krishna, then I can be used in a wonderful way. So it's a beautiful little dance that takes place in the heart, I think.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. My honor.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for being